Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Tim Friede. Friede?
Free.
How are you, man?
Good. How you doing?
I'm great, bro. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on my show. You have an amazing story. Like when I came across your story, I was stunned. I was like speechless when I see I was like, huh? Because normally you hear about venomous snakes killing people and not to go around them, they're dangerous. And then to hear a guy is immune to snake venom. Like, how, like before we get started, make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. So you want to tell the people where you were born and raised and what your background is?
I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we only have two venomous snakes, unfortunately. Back in 1968, and just grew up as a kid hunting garter snakes and basic snakes that we have in Wisconsin. Nothing too serious. Obviously, we don't have any mambas or taipans or cobras here, so I just had to play with what I had and order the rest, basically. So just started out like any other kid.
My mother, I caught snakes, garters, and put them in a bottle, like a water bottle, and I put them in my room, and they got out. And my mother went to pick one up, and she thought it was a bolt, like an old bolt, like a rusty bolt.
Right.
And she went to grab it, and it slithered away. And she screamed and went crazy. Get those out of my house!
Oh yeah,
were you doing the same type of stuff when you were a kid?
My parents would catch snakes that I brought in, like you said, in bottles. Garter snakes did the same thing. Sneak them in the house, they get out, or they'd find them where I hid them, and basically told me to get rid of them. But it's not their fault. They're afraid of them, and just one thing led to another.
So you were a mechanic, right?
I was a mechanic for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy how do you go from being a mechanic to like studying the snakes and even being able to think about doing something like that?
Well, I don't have a degree in herpetology or zoology or toxicology or immunology or biochemistry. So it's kind of easy for me to just have a normal job and to go home and play with something that was really dangerous where people died. Nobody's going to hire me in a zoo because I'm too extreme with it. So that's that liability, which actually isn't a liability because I'm immune to it and don't need antivenom. So it's a non-liability.
Yeah.
And I just, worked all day and then came home and played with it as a hobby. I wasn't even serious the first couple of years. I was milking.
Your first snake, your first venomous snake. What was it and when was that?
First venomous snake was back in 1998. Monocle cobra, copperhead, various others. But I wasn't self-immunizing at the time. I just had them. At that time, I was milking arachnids, black widows, scorpions, centipedes, just as a hobby. And then I realized that, 125,000 people a year die from snake bite.
It's a lot.
And, 5 million people are bitten, 400,000 disabilities, including obviously amputations. And I realized that priority had to switch from stuff that's not that lethal to stuff that kills a lot of people. And back in 2001-ish, that's when I made that transition to realize that I had to take it more seriously and take my focus from that and get really serious about it. But there's no book on it. There's no book on it. So you just have to figure it out yourself.
But I was watching a video and this guy a long time ago. I'm not sure exactly when it was, but he made the snake bite him and he documented what happened to him, but he died. Like, so when the snake bites you, how do you know you're not going to die and try to save yourself? Like, how do you know how much to give yourself and things like that? And like, where do you start? When was the first bite for you? And what's it?
First bad bite was 2001, 2 cobra bites. And to answer your question, that's a really good question. Because you don't know how much to give yourself milligram wise, how often to do it. And what I did is I slowly took notes, diluted it down. You have to dilute it down. You can't just start with a bite or pure venom. It's too toxic. So I diluted it down 1 in 10,000 times the cobra venom and slowly worked up to pure venom. And that's kind of the way you start doing it. But the next question is how often do you have to shoot that venom up? Do you have to do it every week, every month, every year? So I basically had all these windows in place with a lot of notes, a lot of being studied. I've been studying the lab 6 times. So you know your titer level's set, and that's how immune you are. Titer levels are your IgG antibodies that neutralize the venom. And you have to stay within that time frame and work all that out. So it's a combination of kind of rolling the dice,
Yeah.
injecting to get the pure venom, and then you take the bites, along with lab work. And if you take both those things and you kind of correlate those things, you know how often to do it, how many milligrams you have to do to achieve a very high titer level, IgG. And and every snake's different. Every snake's different. Not there's not two the same. So black mamba is different in a taipan than a Cape Cobra or a rattlesnake or a coral snake or you name it. So you just have to. I have a lot of notes. I have 2 decades worth of notes that I use that I put into an Excel file. And I just kept refining that with pictures and bites and when I have to do it, when can I lay off, when can I take a break. And that worked out pretty good. And that's really the way to become immune to snake bites is to do that. Just there's no book on it though. So
That's wild, man. So when you're injecting yourself with this venom, do you have symptoms from it?
The number one symptom you can have is IgE anaphylactic shock. And a lot of people get shock, especially with antivenom. It's a foreign protein made with horses. So you can have anaphylactic shock, which can kill you faster than venom can kill you. I've had it 12 times.
You've had it 12 times?
12 times. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the biggest thing. It's mainly just swelling. Venom is very inflammatory by nature. So the more milligrams injected, the more you're going to swell up. No swelling, pretty much you didn't have any venom injected. So you can kind of gauge that.
Let's make it clear to people though, because there's different kind of snakes. Some of it will rot your skin after it bites you, right?
Yep. There's 3 different types of toxins. Your neurotoxins, the neuromuscular junction, which that poster behind me is what I'm mapping out for the lab. And then you have hemostasis, the way your blood clots, procoagulant, anticoagulant venoms, and then you have cytotoxicity and myotoxicity, which can rot you, like rattlesnakes, amongst other vipers. And there's ones that are really toxic that are really easy to do, like taipans, pretty easy to do, mainly a neurotoxin. Water cobras, Africa, strict neurotoxin, really easy to do. So with immunity, those are easy to do. But even with immunity, certain rattlesnakes are really, like Western Diamondback, really hard to do. It's just that necrotic. It rots your flesh.
And a lot of people die from that every year, right?
Well, we lose about maybe in North America 7 to 14, just in North America. So not that many here. We have good antivenom, good hospitalization. But you jump over to the old world and you jump over to like India, that's where most people die. In Asia, 100,000 people a year die. Just alone in India.
Black mamba, right?
That's Africa. So Asia is the big one. 125,000 people a year die by the big 4. 20,000 in Africa. And then you jump over to Central South America, you have 5. And then you have miscellaneous areas where people die. But about 125,000 people die a year. And since I started doing this, 2.5 million people have died from snakebite. And it's unfortunate because I sit here and don't die, but I still have to push forward the best I can. Being in an area where we really don't have venomous snakes, only 2. So I represent, people in the old world, basically, that die from snake bite. Now we're trying to fix that. And that's a big nut to crack, really is.
This question's crazy, right? So you're in the lab, you have the snake, you've been injecting this venom. What is it like for you to be like, okay, I'm going to take this snake, I'm going to let it bite me? What's going through your head, and how does it feel? Like what can you give me like a description on everything that's happening in your mind, outside?
Well, that's kind of the biggest thing with this is I know what's happening on the biological level, how my antibodies are neutralizing it, but the psychological level is a whole new story, because the stuff that I deal with did deal with is super toxic. Taipans, black mambas, it's as bad as it gets. And so it's kind of always in the back of your head that some of this stuff can kill, 250,000 mice. There you go, Dendroaspis bilepis. And you just neutralize it, and it's called saddle time. The more I've been bitten a lot just because I do it a lot. Water cobras, Africa.
Wow. So you'll just pick it up and let it bite you, or is it like a controlled bite?
It depends. Most of my bites are self-induced. Sometimes they're not, but most are self-induced. And the reason I do that is to prove that I'm immune. Talking about it's one thing, but actually proving it, especially with people that don't know me or bring snakes they have over to me, that's kind of the big stepping stone with that. And it's not, you don't really get a high off it. It's not like a drug. It just makes you feel good knowing that somebody in that time frame died from a snake bite that either you're using or a snake bite, period. And so that's why I carried it on for so many years, because I knew I was immune. So what good is that going to do if I don't get that information in the scientific community and get published and talk to scientists and go to conferences and do stuff like that? So that was a big driving force. But the way it feels is just, it's like a bee sting, but there's so many more milligrams injected versus 1 or 2 in a bee versus 200 to 400 in a venomous snake. So you're getting hit with all that extra venom. And
So are the different snakes when they bite you, does it feel different, like comparably?
Oh, it totally does. Yeah, it totally does. And that's
From the
why
mamba to the rattlesnake to the cobra, they're completely different.
Yep, exactly. And that's why I don't put venoms together. I separate venoms, I dry them out, and then I freeze them. And I'll use separate venoms to get a feel for what they feel like. Like water cobra that you just showed from Africa is way different than Western diamondback.
So like what does this one feel like?
Oh, it's easy. It's one of the most venomous snakes in Africa, other than the boomslang, LD50.14.
It's easy, you said?
Well, if you're not immune, you're going to die. But if you're immune, it's a pure neurotoxin at the neuromuscular junction. And it's really easy. The more neurotoxic it is, cobra, and cobras are different, though, because they have what's called cytotoxins. They're very necrotic. They can eat your muscle cells apart. It's kind of similar to rattlesnakes. You're going to lose a finger, you're going to lose an arm, you're going to lose something. So those are really tough to do, even though I'm immune to them. It just takes longer for those antibodies to bind and connect. Versus like a taipan, I can blow it off, I'm fine the next day. A water cobra, blow it off. All 4 mambas, pretty easy to do. You're good within a day or 2. Western diamondback, you could be down for 2 months. And I have them. So each venom is different.
So like you'll be sick, physically sick during this period?
Just so beat up from the swelling, because the swelling can be really dramatic with stuff that's necrotic.
I have a picture of that. Matter of fact, I have a picture of your hand after you got bit by
probably a Western diamondback.
It might have been there. There was the one with the mamba. I saw that video. The mamba was crazy. Your hand was crazy. It's at the bottom of this pic. You see the hand?
Yeah, that's well, black mamba, water cobra, and the hand is my hand in the middle, that's actually a Western diamondback bite. And my hand on the right, that's I believe, water cobra bite. 2 very different types of venom, 2 different continents.
How far apart are these snake bites happening?
As far as myself,
No, like I mean, how far from one bite to the other? Like, say you have a snake bite you, how long do you wait for to work with another one?
well, that's the thing. If I'm bitten by a black, I try to take a couple weeks off. Um, you don't want to get bit immediately after, because all your good antibodies are bound to all those fractions, the antigens per se, in that venom. I've done double black bites back to back. I've done black taipan back to back in 2 minutes, but you have to do it really quick. You don't want to wait, and so you just want to kind of wait, take your time, kind of heal. Um, but yeah, I can go back to back on bites. Just too painful.
Yeah, it seems like it's painful. In one of the videos, you were saying it felt like your finger was smashed with a hammer.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much what it feels like. Depending on
Wow.
how many milligrams are injected. Now, when you're bitten, you don't know. You don't know if it's IV, the most dangerous bite you can have, or if it's subcutaneous, which is a normal bite underneath your skin versus IV. And I've had plenty of IV bites because I'm very veiny. And that's the most dangerous, but I still neutralize it. My titer levels are so high because my booster shots are lethal doses, basically.
Yeah,
Not
but so
sure.
that can that be toxic to you having all this anti-venom in you? Can't that be toxic itself? Like, is there other things going on with you physically because of that?
Um, well, it's one of the reasons I have liver and kidney assays done to make sure my organs aren't failing. Because if it's beating up my organs, it's not worth it. But it never has. My liver and kidney assays are awesome, perfect. Um, I do take really good care of myself. That's important too. Um, but other than that, I haven't had any problems. Um, Not yet, and I'm 55, so and those are a lot of bad bites in the last 18 plus years. So
When's the last time you got bit?
2018, Dendroaspis polylepis black mamba got bit on the finger and passed out. Um, just really bad bite in the finger and hit my head on the back of my sink and then dislocated my ankle. Pulled through it, but it
You
was just
woke up?
really, yeah, I woke up.
Were you alone?
No, my girlfriend was with me, but it
Did
got
she
me right on the tip of the finger where
did she
there's not a
call
lot
the
of skin.
ambulance and all that?
No,
Or
no, no, I don't
were
think
you guys do you guys so when you do this type of stuff, do you have it planned? Do you have like a doctor on standby? Do you have a nurse? Do you have like
the
things
only
in
time
place?
I've had doctors is when I did Stanley's Superhumans on History Channel.
I remember that, man. I
Yeah,
remember that.
that was really cool. And we had to have doctors just for liability reasons. Um, so they were there. Obviously, I injected pure venom, didn't need it. And the second time I had a doctor was uh, uh, Nat Geo with Henry Rollins from the Henry Rollins Band.
Yeah.
I
Shout
did.
out to Henry Rollins. He's a great guy, great host.
Oh,
I
love Henry.
I inspire to be in somewhere similar situation as him where I can host things. I just love doing this, man. It's like a passion of mine now, you know.
Yeah, it's fun to do. And
I,
Henry's a great guy. I mean, he's so smart. And it was great to do it with him because I got kicked off Nat Geo like I don't know 12 years earlier because what I did was a little too extreme. So Henry called me and said, "Do you want to do a Nat Geo Wild?" Where he's the host on Snake Underworld. And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it up." And it was
wow.
fun. It was fun.
So now, would you ever be willing to get bit again?
I've been retired 5 years from this, 2018 till 23. I just wanted a break from it because I was doing it so much and so hard, working at the same time, married, raising two kids. Uh, Back then, I wasn't doing it full time, so I needed a break.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I totally miss it. I totally miss it. But if I do get back into it, it's just going to be for me because scientifically, the lab I'm working with has done everything possible to take my blood to clone my antibodies to make a human antivenom. And so
Wow. But maybe there's other labs out there that can benefit from the work that you have done, you know?
there might be, and we talked to them, but the lab I work with, they're antibody engineers,
Yeah.
and their skill set is just taking antibodies, modifying them to make the best possible product that they can make. In this case, which is a really cool antivenom, which we just put in for publication a couple months ago, and the results are insane. The snakes I'm immune to that I've never used them. Like I'm immune to king cobra, never used it. Immune to just so many things that I haven't used, which means it is a broad spectrum antivenom. I don't have to use all the 300 venomous snakes out of the 3,000. I just have to use the ones that are most lethal, and they can clone those antibodies and make a product out of that. So
that's a monocle cobra, right?
The last one I didn't. It looks like some kind of a fake cobra.
Is it a fake cobra?
To me,
it's probably fake. I don't know. It looked crazy, man, with fangs. So I was like, whatever.
Yeah, but it pretty much looks like that.
Yeah. So now, when these snakes bite you, I know their fangs are like kind of arched back, right? Mm-hmm. So are you like pulling the snake off you? Like, do you just wait for it to release? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, most of the times, like mambas, they're just going to bite and release. It depends on the dental configuration of the snake, though. Vipers and pit vipers, they go backwards and dig in. You're just not going to want to rip that out. You kind of want to push it forward and then let it go. Normally, they're just going to tap you and release. That's normally what a bite entails. You're just going to tap you, release, tap you, release. The problem with mambas is, anti-pans, is they bite repetitively.
Like on your finger that day, right?
Yeah, it's not just one bite. It'll pop, pop, and you'll have 2 bites, and they might be 2 IV bites. So that's what makes those dangerous when you get bit on purpose. But, at the end of the day, regardless of how venomous the snake is, I have so much immunity that my body recognizes it. So it's not that big of a deal. And we're just basically right now trying to move through all the snakes that kill people and how immune we are with lab studies. To take my blood to clone it, to pull out the B cells, to pull out IgG antibodies, and the engineers can actually change the antibodies and modify them.
Yeah.
To make the product even better and stronger. Because a lot of the antibodies that are in snake antivenom are useless. Not all snake venom's toxic. There's a lot of things that are not toxic. So why do we need the antibodies? There's a lot of venom proteins that are synergistic that make the whole venom stronger, which is important, but do we need those? And a prime example is when we did in vitro studies and in vivo studies. In vitro is the lab, in vivo is in a mouse, live studies. Mm-hmm. Took our one antibody, our D9. I won't get into that too much because it's a waste of time. But that's the most powerful antibody that we found to neutralize at the neuromuscular junction, to neutralize those toxins in elapids, mambas, cobras. And that one antibody neutralized pure venom, just the one antibody.
Of different snakes, of different types.
Different snakes. Yeah. That one antibody in king cobra that I've never used neutralized Apheophagus hannah, king cobra, 100%. And I've never used king cobra, but that one antibody that we cloned recognized king cobra venom and neutralized it, which made the rest of the venom components, the protein, obsolete, doesn't matter. And that's in the publications. So that's huge.
And I was watching this other video, and you were saying that a human can almost be immune to anything.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And that's wild to think about that. Like,
that's why we get flu shots and COVID shots and every other shot you can possibly think of. It's just a different antigen. Snake venom is just protein. But the problem is there's so much protein in one snake. You can have, let's say, black mamba can have 100 fractions. 100 fractions, not one. One would be easy to do. We'd be done.
Yeah.
But with 100, we have to mine through which antibodies we're going to need to neutralize the whole venom, like D9. The rest of it, non-toxic, synergistic, doesn't matter at this point. If it neutralizes that, the rest you can just blow off. So we don't need an antibody to every antigen. We just need antibodies to the most dangerous ones in snake venom.
And that should take care of the other ones, like a umbrella type thing.
It basically, yeah. So we don't need antibodies to all those 100 fractions. We just need it to maybe 20%, give or take. We're still researching that, but so far, about 20% just at neuromuscular junction neutralizes those effects. And that's lab studies. That's not me making it up or reading about it. Those are studies done in a lab.
There's probably going to be a lot of people who are skeptical about this. They're going to be like, that guy's full of shit, blah, blah, blah. How about this? Is he full of shit now? There's video of you doing it. I'm going to put that video right here, and people can see that this is for real, man.
Well, they can bring me their wallets, and I'll prove them wrong.
Yeah, you guys can put up your money or just do. Now, you're messing with these snakes, right? And you are thinking about doing this study. How long you start injecting the venom until you get the bite? Like, how long of a period of time is that when you start injecting the venom to when you get the bite?
0.0011 milligrams to 6 milligrams in 4 months, I could become immune. Basically in 4 months. Now that's after a lot of research and experimental stuff that I've done on myself in lab work.
Yeah.
And I've seen stuff all over the board. I've gone a year, but in 4 months I can take a snake, which I did on Western Diamondback, did it on Taipan, from 0.0011 milligrams, 11/10,000ths of a milligram to my goal of 6 milligrams, pretty much a lethal dose, in 4 months. And then what I do at that point, once I maintain that immunity or achieve that immunity, I maintain it with booster shots. So I'll milk Black Mamba, and I'll take out 3 units, 0.03 cc's. And I'll take that 30 milligrams wet, or when you dry it out, it's 6 dry, and I shoot up, I'm good for probably 6 months. I want a year. I want a whole year on it, just to see if I can go a whole year with no shots. Not waste the needle, don't stress the snake out. Can I do 1 shot a year and survive that snake? And that's what I did in 2018 with water cobras. I waited a whole year before I took a lethal dose. And then I filmed for Outside Magazine. They were right in front of me, directly in front of me, and waited a year, actually 11 months, and shot it up. Nothing.
Nothing. Not even like nausea.
Nope.
Wow.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing.
Because I've heard stories of people's eyes bleeding, their ears bleeding, their mouth, every like orifice in their body will start bleeding because it like thins their blood, right?
Well, those are anticoagulants. And that's an important part of the study. There's procoagulants, which coagulate the blood. That's the job of hemostasis. And there's anticoagulants where it can't coagulate. So you're going to bleed out everything. And there's a lot of snakes that can do that. A lot of snakes can have both. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with hemostasis. You can have procoagulation, anticoagulation, fibrinolytic toxins, platelet toxins, plasma protein toxins, vessel wall toxins. That's just in hemostasis. And there's all these different fractions that are going against all these things. So that's the second part of the program that we're working on. The first part behind me is neuromuscular junction. We pretty much have that done. And the second part is hemostasis, like you mentioned. Everything's hemostasis, procoagulants and anticoagulants. And we have to neutralize that. Is one antibody going to do it? I don't know. We have to determine that. It could be 1, could be 2. Right now we're at about 3 or 4 on the neuromuscular junction side, and then we're going to have to add at least 3 or 4 on the hemostasis side. And that's just the start of it. There's other fractions as well in there, but that's our starting point. Wow. That's what makes it difficult. It's just a mega puzzle, and you have to figure that puzzle out. I figured it out myself, but now we have to figure it out in a lab and see how we're going to make these antibodies. Do we need them or do we not need them? And we just have to go through that process.
There's probably different things that they can be used to help, right? Possibly.
Yeah. There's a lot of things medicinally, cancer, etc. They're using with copperheads and a whole bunch of stuff, high blood pressure, different things regarding hemostasis that can be used. But I don't focus on that. I focus strictly just on surviving and making a human antivenom. That can be better than the antivenom that we have from horses, which is 120,000 years old since Albert Calmetti in 1900.
Like,
so it'll be the first time it's changed.
Because horses get bit. Is that what you're
saying? Well, that's what they use to make the antivenom because they have such large plasma volumes, blood volumes.
Yeah.
And I don't. And that's one of the reasons I thought it wasn't going to work. Is because, I'm only 150 pounds. How much blood can I give? But with the advent of antibody engineering and cloning, as soon as they have my blood, they only have two samples, a 20 cc and a 40 cc that I delivered to them. And they can take that and multiply that in the millions to make those antibodies. So they only need me once, maybe twice. That's all they need from me. I don't have to do it every week. And they can take my blood, clone it, and reproduce it in the millions and the billions.
Yeah, because once you build up this immunity, they take your blood, they X out the certain things that they do. And I'm not really sure about specific terms. I'm not a scientist at all.
Right. Don't worry, neither am I.
You're just like, damn, I'm gonna let a cobra bite me. I'm like, holy shit, man. A lot of people watching this right now are probably scratching their head like, what?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, though, I understand the question, but if they make antivenom in horses or sheep or any other animal, I'm an animal too. I'm just a Homo sapien, a primate.
Yeah.
Why can't I take myself and substitute a Homo sapien with a horse? That way I don't have to use the antivenom. That was my whole purpose of it. If I get bit by these things that I have, I want to protect myself. That's why I became immune. So I don't have to lose a finger, die, miss work, miss money. And that's why I'm still sitting here now, because I made myself immune and don't need the antivenom. On the flip side of that, we're making the antivenom because I made the vaccine in myself.
Yeah.
So we can take my blood, spin it, get the plasma out. Those are the antibodies are. And they can take that to the lab, and the lab can filter it through with a lot of different processes to get to the antibodies that we need.
That's wild, man. That's wild stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. Like, it's mind blowing, man. When you really think about it, like,
yeah,
the things that the human body can endure and go through, and things you can accomplish. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, we could, like you said, we can be immune to anything, unless you're immunocompromised. You might have some problems or health issues. Obviously, it's not going to work for everybody.
Have you ever built up an immunity with these shots, and then the snake bite you by accident, and you're like, oh, I'm built up immunity. I'm good. I don't got to worry about that.
Well, it's happened a couple times to where I'm milking a snake just to get my venom out so I can do a booster, and I'll get bit just accidentally, and if I am, I'll just take that venom and process it, dry it out. You want to dry it out to get rid of that water so you don't have bacterial contamination. Mm-hmm. Put it in the freezer, and if I'm bit, that's my booster shot.
Yeah, but so normally when someone gets bit, my thought is, oh shit, I got bit. My finger's gonna fall off. It's gonna rot and fall off, right? Unless I go to the hospital and get this shot. You got bit. You have a bite on your finger. It's swelling up. How come your finger doesn't fall off, but mine will? That's confusing me. Like, what? I don't. Like, it's because obviously you built up this immunity, but I'm still trying to like wrap my head around it. Like, it's insane. Like,
well, it's, if you get bit, you're going to die or lose something because you're not immune. The reason I give myself booster shots is to maintain that immunity.
Yeah.
Without that, I wouldn't be immune, and I'd die too or lose something.
So
Um,
are there people out there who are immune without taking venom, like on their own?
um, Normally, no. Um, Now, certain animals are going to be immune to snake venom, and they're not shooting up venom because they don't have needles and they can't do it. Um, there's a lot of animals that, through evolution, are immune to venom. Um, I just did it to myself, and because I have the needles, and that's the way you create immunity. They say the same thing they do in horses. They keep giving them shots and shots and shots. And pretty soon that horse is immune to the venom. And then they extract the blood, spin it down, take the plasma, and get the antibodies out of there.
Mhm.
So I basically replaced the horse.
Why wouldn't you just get the blood from the immune animal and get it off of that? Like off of the animal that's already immune to the snake?
You can. Um, but the neat thing about using a human is it reduces the anaphylactic shock. And that's why a lot of people have, when they get antivenom, have problems with anaphylactic shock. It's a foreign protein. Because I'm a human, it's more compatible. It's a
And
stronger.
now that's just when you're like frozen, right? You can't even you can think, but you can't move or anything, right?
No, exactly. When I flatlined with 2 cobra bites in 2001, it doesn't affect your central nervous system. And like you alluded to, you can still think, but you can't move. So when I was in a coma at ICU at Frederick, I could hear everything around me. He's dead. Let's wrap him up. The whole 9 yards. But I couldn't move because my peripheral nervous system was shut down. That's what snake venom does. It affects your peripheral nervous system and not your central. And that's because the toxins are too big to break the BBB, the blood-brain barrier. They can't get through it. If they could, it'd be way more toxic. It just affects the peripheral
Because
nervous
it would
system.
just attack your brain and you'd be done.
You'd be done
right?
fast.
Yeah.
But they can't break through that, which is a good thing because I wouldn't be here. But you can't move. Your diaphragm is frozen. And you can maybe move a little bit when you start coming back, but you can still clearly think and hear everything because your central nervous system's not affected.
How long are you like that for?
I was like that for 4 days.
What?
4 days. Yeah.
Are you just laying there? Are you like, I'm gonna go to sleep now, and you just go to sleep and you open your eyes and you're just like, I'm just here?
I don't even know how it happened. I knew how it happened, but after 4 days, I woke up after the coma, and I didn't know where I was. I was in ICU where they have 12 beds, which means everybody's fixing to die or is dead. So I woke up, turned over, and looked, and the lady's having brain surgery, and I'm laying there, and I couldn't remember what happened. And I pulled out of that, and that's how I started my career, complete failure. It was a disaster. I mean, it was nothing to be proud of. And my ex-wife at the time said, you better figure this out or quit, back in 2001. And I'm like, you know what? I screwed up. I had my own antivenom, but I had to use the Zeus antivenom to survive. And that was the last time I've ever used antivenom. It was in 2001. And I just figured it out. I was pissed because I made mistakes. I redefined everything I did with drying venom out, taking notes, taking pictures, talking to scientists, reached out to get studied, which I was for the first time, by Dr. Anthony too, Colorado State University. And I just got serious about it.
Yeah.
I mean, super serious. I mean, in hindsight, I'm glad how I know how it feels to be almost dead by it and to pull through it. Back then it sucked, but it was a big moment for me to realize that, hey, either I stop doing this because I don't know what I'm doing, or I make a difference with it. And the latter worked out pretty well.
It could have killed you easily, man.
Oh, yeah.
Any one of those times, possibly. You think?
Well, especially when I relived those experiences years later, which I filmed Black Mamba Bites and Taipan Bites back to back. And that's how I met my boss at Cenovex, who I work for. He saw the video on Barcroft TV where I did Black Bite, Taipan Bite within like 2 minutes, back to back, pop. And the reason I did that is to prove my immunity and to go back to realize that, hey, you can get bit twice. I just screwed up. I know what I did wrong. I had to neutralize that in my head and just figure it out. And then ever since then, done that many times.
That was the video that I seen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's okay with him, I'll put a clip of it in this video somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Him. I mean, owns the rights for it. So, I mean,
yeah. However you want to do that, that's fine. I don't know how that works.
Incorporate whatever you want. I could put pictures, all that type of stuff.
Yeah. So that was pretty intense.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
And then a lot of people through the years ask why did I get bit so many times? Because I'm lazy or don't have a protocol. No, it's not the point. The point is to prove I'm immune. I have nothing against people that handle it safely. What's that?
How many times have you been bit?
200. 700 injections over the last 18 years-ish, 17 and a half years. It's longer than that. I got bitten in 19 too by some stuff, but I just never put it down on paper because I retired from it. But
wow, man.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man. Wow.
It is crazy. But the more I did it, the more comfortable I was with it. And like I said, I'm not taking anything away from people that want to do it safely with tubing devices and hooks and gloves. That's fine. You can still have dangerous snakes and enjoy them. But that wasn't going to solve the problem for me. Can I become immune? Can I make a difference with antivenom? Can I make a difference in humanity? I was only one person at the time, but I was reaching out to a lot of people, including Nobel winners who like my stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. It's like, I don't even have a degree and I'm talking to a Nobel winner. Oh.
Yeah, Nobel Peace Prize winners.
Well, in medicine, actually.
That's incredible, man.
I just reached out to everybody, senators, White House, every doctor in the world, minus Antarctica, every continent in the world, saying, I'm immune. What can we do with this? And 90% of it's rejection. Screw you, it doesn't work. It costs too much money, which it does.
You're crazy.
Crazy. You got a death wish. And I'm like, no, because people don't understand self-experimentation in medical history. There's a lot of Nobel winners in there. They just use their own body to figure stuff out. Dr. Marshall, Nobel winner in medicine, was one of them. And that's who I got to know, got to meet. So it's just, you're using your own body to figure stuff out. You're not using a mouse or a rat because they're not going to respond back with good results. They're either going to live or die, but they're not going to know how it feels. Now, as a human, I can get bit and take notes, take pictures. Here's how it is, very detailed stuff. So I think that's very important. I'm not promoting anybody to do this because it's too dangerous. I'm not a doctor. You can take one injection, you do your math wrong, you're done. So I don't help anybody do it. If there is a vaccine in the field in the future, then that's up to the job of clinicians, doctors that are going to take care of that. So,
have you ever been around anyone that was bitten by a snake and they're not immune to it, and you're like, what, like have you had any situations where people around you were bitten?
A couple, but not because of my snakes, because I was very careful about that. I know a lot of people that have been bitten that watched me get bitten, not die, and they got bitten, went to the hospital, and all over the world. I mean, from Australia to Asia to Africa to South America. And if they did what I did, they wouldn't die or have to go to the hospital. It's kind of my point.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing because let's say you're in a tribe somewhere and the leader of the tribe that hunts gets bitten and dies. It doesn't just affect the one individual. It affects the whole tribe. Now, nobody can hunt. Maybe nobody can fish. Economically, it affects everything.
Yeah, it's the person who is the peacemaker in the group, and now things are disarray because that person's gone.
or the cook, the lady that cooks or makes clothes. I mean, it affects the whole community, the whole tribe. It's not just one person gone. I mean, it can devastate a whole village. So those are important things to take into consideration too. Another thing to take into consideration too is even if you're immune like I am, you still have to get, once our antivenom's made, knock on wood, you still have to get to the antivenom. You can easily die because you don't have a cell phone, you don't have a car, you don't have transportation. You have to get there. So
or you pass out, or you're in the lab and you pass out and you're like, what happened? Right? And it's too late.
Yeah,
Like
anything. So they have to have proper clothes, proper shoes, a clean house, no holes in the house, no garbage around the house, sleep on a cot, sleep in a tent. So those are really basic things that a lot of people are working on before you get to the anti-venom, because you're not going to get there if those things aren't solved, because this stuff can take you out 15, 20 minutes for an adult, maybe 5, 10 for a kid. So you're an hour away from the hospital where the antivenom is, you're not even going to get there.
No.
It doesn't matter how good it is. Now, if you're immune like I am, big deal. I go about my business, but that's where it gets real foggy.
You get bit, you just keep working. If someone else gets bit, they just drop.
Pretty much. Haven't missed a day of work in my entire life, minus one vacation day with all those bites. Now, granted, there's a lot of long ass days of not being able to feel my hands, arms, or mega pain, which aspirin doesn't touch, Vicodin doesn't touch it. There's no drugs that touch it. The pain is so intense that you just drink water, ride it out. It's the best way to do it. Plus, you don't want to get hooked on drugs every time you're bit.
The human body is incredible, the things that it can endure.
Oh, yeah.
It really is.
It's powerful. And so is the mind, not just physically, but the mind is a powerful thing to neutralize what it's like in the middle of nowhere to get bit by a black or a taipan or a cobra or a rattlesnake and just blow it off.
You got some big cojones, my friend.
I'm just stupid. I don't know.
Trust me. If I'm in a fight or something, I definitely want you on my side, man.
I'm no UFC fighter.
People will be like, I'm not fighting the anti-snake venom guy.
Well, they can knock me out in a heartbeat. There's no immunity getting hit by that.
Oh, man. So, have you written any books? Do you have any books, or what do you got going on in the future, man?
Oh, God, the future. I did write a little 32-page book for Japan when they went to Africa for me on it. Never published it. My website took a crap, and then took me a year to do it. Didn't go anywhere. As far as what we're doing now, it's full-time lab work. A lot of lab work. We did 2 conferences last year, one in Arizona at Venom Week, and then the lab went out to Vermont to do the Gordon Conference. Those are big conferences, by the way. Hopefully 2 publications come out this year. So we're really trying to take it to the next level, the very highest level you can get to with it. And more publications, more conferences. My entire job is just mapping this whole thing out, which is it's a full-time job, basically. Going through my books and my literature and mapping out where we need antibodies and where we don't need them and what we're going to do. And it's a big project. That's why not a lot of people have done it. It's a big project.
I'm sure it's a lot of work, man. It's tedious. It's just like editing for me, man. It's a lot,
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
I can imagine the things you have to know and get to learn. It's like a new process for me, because I used to be on the streets, in and out of prison. I was like a lost soul, and I finally found something that completes me, basically.
Well, that's what you want to do in life. You want to find out things that make you happy, regardless of what happened in the past.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can change a lot of lives by doing that too, actually.
Yeah. I try. I volunteer in my town. I try to show people who are struggling that they can do it too. I was homeless. I was on drugs. I was drug addicted to alcohol, drugs, and I recovered from that. And I'm moving in a positive direction, man. You
That's
know,
awesome, dude. You're going to save more lives than I am.
hey, man, we could both save lives together. You know,
It's a competition now.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, I can imagine how many lives you saved over the years. Yeah, I'm sure your
Well,
research has saved lives.
yeah, it saved lives in the sense that, well, in the future when the antivenom's out there, because that's based on my blood, so that's going to save lives.
Yeah, and
I'm,
that's a legacy. Is your name attached to that type of stuff?
I didn't ask. Um,
You should have.
yeah, the lab takes really good care of me. I
The
have
Tim
no,
syrup or something.
yeah, yeah. They did mention it. And I'm like, that's up to you guys in the lab. I don't like titles. I don't like accolades. I don't like anything like that. I just do it for me. And, if I'm part of it, which I am, that's what makes me happy. I don't need to have Tim Friede on the vial of antivenom.
No,
You know,
yeah,
I,
it
you
is
know,
yours. Either way, it doesn't have to have your name on it. It is
and
yours.
the company does a lot too. Cenovax, the scientists that put the last 5 years of work into this, I mean, all their names should be on it, because they really pulled a lot of weight in the lab, on a high end lab, not a basic little dumb lab like I have here, but I
It's
never
a
asked for it.
collective thing, right?
It's a collective group of scientists that have a lot of passion that are really smart. I mean, a lot of these guys and gals, you have PhDs from Harvard and Stanford. I mean, they're very smart individuals. And I just take great pride that I can work with them. Being a non degreed individual, it's hard to do. I have to read a lot to hang with them, but yeah, I love to read. I love to study. That's what I do. And I enjoy it because you have to. You have to really know what you're doing. You don't just do it all willy nilly and jump in there and grab a needle and guess what? Here's how it goes. I mean,
Yeah, it could kill you like this,
oh
man.
yeah, it could. So I take it very serious, more so now than ever, even though I'm not doing it. Um, Now my job is just to study. Before that was to get bit, and with that I'm not studying. But without that, now I can study harder and focus on all these things I'm working on here, for 15, 18 hours a day if I have to, and get a lot more done. That's a lot more important because people know that I'm immune. That's why I filmed it. How many
And
times?
you have the footage. You have the footage that you can study that. You can break it down. There's a lot you can go over with all
Yeah,
that.
and that's what we're doing right now with the documentary we're filming. We've been filming for 2 years actually, based on me and based on the stuff the lab is doing. And they're going to use all my old footage. Most of the ones that you've seen, they're going to use that just for the safety, so I don't die. It kills the whole project. They can use old footage and mesh that in there, But
It's incredible, man. It really is. When people see this video, they're not going to believe it. They really are.
yeah, it used to actually bother me when people didn't believe me, and then I'm like, you know what? That's what science is. They don't believe you. There's a lot of naysayers. Um, I've had every threat you can possibly imagine.
I get those too. If you do this show, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and do it. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm still doing the show.
so am I.
Yeah.
So I just pushed forward, and I took a lot of that negativity and trying to turn it into, okay, I understand why you don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't like arguing. I don't go on social media and argue. I just try to produce, and if you don't like it, not my problem. But I've just done so much with it, you just can't deny it. I mean,
Yeah.
so I pretty much put him in a corner, and and when I went to Venom Week in Arizona, it was really weird because a lot of the people that disagree with me were there. So I went in their backyard, literally at a conference with over 100 scientists, and spoke on stage. And that was cool. Shook their hand, no hard feelings, water under the bridge. And it's amazing the reactions you see on some of these people that called you this, called you that. But when you look right in their eyes and in their face, you're a pin drop.
Yeah, because it's different, man. It's real life, and it's really not like that. Like we're all people. You get to have your opinion. It's called freedom of speech. And I'm never going to stop telling stories. If you're a public figure and you're out there, you're getting talked about.
Right.
You know, that's it.
Right.
So
It's a good way of going about it. Excellent way of going about it.
you can't win them all, man. You know?
No, but if you win a couple, that's better than zero.
Yeah. 100 penny. Wait, four. No, it's a different analogy. Four quarters are better than 100 pennies. That's what they said. Damn, I had to ask you one more question. Oh, have you ever had any of them venomous snakes escape out of the cages and you can't find it?
Oh, I was hoping you didn't ask me that. Only one time when I had a lab way back when something got out, but my room was bomb-proof. It was fully nothing to get out of there, not even a mosquito. So I ended up finding that, but all my cages are locked, lock and key.
Yeah.
Doors locked. I mean, everything I've ever had is pretty much bomb-proof to where you're not going to get in. I'm the only person that has a key. You have to be careful with that.
I've heard people of using rattlesnakes as weapons.
As far as the venom?
No, they send people rattlesnakes.
Oh,
Open the box and they get bit. I've heard all kinds of crazy shit, man.
yeah, I have a couple of those shipments waiting to go out.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I gotta get a couple too, man. We'll talk after.
Yeah. I'll be out of snakes in no time.
Yeah, man. Shit, I have one more for you. Damn, man. Totally forgot.
No, but it's pretty cool to come to the end of the goal. I wasn't sure how long I was going to do it for.
Don't tempt fate, though. Don't do it until it works.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd still be doing it if the lab never picked up on my stuff with that video. I'd still be pushing. Because it kind of bothers me that so many people die every year and I don't. So it was my responsibility not just to get bit, but take it to a lab or take it to get published or take it to get funding or take it somewhere where we can make a difference.
Yeah.
So I talk to people all over the world, mainly India, Africa, on once it's done, how are we going to figure this out? Here it is. What are we going to do? Do we drone it in and drop it? Do we have medical facilities set up in certain areas? Can people get there? I'm talking to a beautiful lady in Tanzania. Not just beautiful, I mean, mentally beautiful, just an amazing woman. And she lives in Tanzania. And hopefully we can work with that because they all have cell phones. They have pretty good transportation. So it's a pretty good spot to start. Once it's out there, okay, here it is. Now, how are they going to get there? And I don't know because I'm not there. So it's up to them to figure out how we're going to get this person to here. And the cool thing is, if it's a universal antivenom, which we hope it is, but you're not going to, it doesn't matter what snake bit you. If it works on all snakes, you don't need to know what kind of cobra, what kind of mamba.
Oh yeah, because if you get bit by a snake, you either got to bring the snake with you and show them what snake you got bit by, or you got to know what kind of snake. What if the snake bites you and just goes away? You don't have any clue what kind it is.
Exactly. That's a huge problem. You get bit and just blink your eyes. You don't know what it is. And, the chances to go back and catch the snake to get bit again, is that worth it? Probably not. So once you're bit and you do start having symptoms, like your eyes closed, ptosis, neurotoxicity wise, or you start to swell up. Well, with the universal antivenom, it won't matter because you're just going to get it. And hopefully our antibodies are powerful enough to recognize those things. That's our goal, which would be huge. We don't have to worry about what kind of snake it was.
If someone gets bit, do you suggest that they put a tourniquet on it? Like, what's the protocol if you get bit by a rattlesnake or whatever out there?
Rattlesnake, no. Black mamba, anything that's neurotoxic, yes. The reason I say yes is when you wrap that ace bandage around with stuff that's really neurotoxic, It consolidates all those toxins right there so it can't hit their target sites. That'll buy time to get to the hospital, to get a drip, an IV drip. And as soon as that starts, then you can release that. No, but if you do that with rattlesnakes or anything that's necrotic, it's going to make it worse. It's going to start eating apart even faster and faster and faster. So those are the two ways to think about that.
What about the cutting it when across and sucking the poison out?
No, because when you cut your skin, you're going to cut nerves. Number one. Number two, you're going to waste time. Time is tissue. So you want to get to the hospital as fast as you can. If you sit there and you're cutting and sucking, the venom's already in the system. You're not going to get anything out
What
at
if
all.
you just what if you just try to suck it out of your skin?
That's the way they used to do it, but it didn't work. And it makes sense if you think about it. You want to get it out, but if you have like really big fangs that go in really deep, you're not going to get a lot out of there.
No.
You could be dead before you're done sucking and have to get to the hospital. So that stuff's not advised anymore. What is
having
advised?
That in your mouth, like having that in your mouth, is probably not good either, right?
That doesn't matter.
No?
As long as you don't have an oral ulcer or a gastric ulcer, the venom cannot enter your system. You can swallow venom. It doesn't do anything unless you have a gastric ulcer.
So it has to come in contact with open blood, basically.
Yes. It has to come into contact with an open wound, blood, and that's how it's activated. So, yeah, if you swallow, it's no big deal. But, if it's injected.
I did not know that. Not know that.
Yep. And your stomach acids are going to neutralize a lot of that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that doesn't work. And that's the problem you have is in the old world, you have a lot of these witch doctors or healers, medical healers that just, grab a black rock, wipe it on you, jump up and down, do a dance.
Yeah.
No disrespect to their culture, but you're going to die. No way around it. And they do. They're wasting time doing that versus getting to the hospital. And they've been doing it for thousands and thousands of years. So to change their minds is a hard thing to do.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to change. It's in their culture, probably.
Exactly. If I went there and got bit, I don't know, they'd probably think I'm some kind of a god. And it's like, no, here's how you do it.
Yeah.
But they don't understand science.
Probably would, man. Well, man, I want to thank you for coming on my show. I really appreciate you taking the time. This was really eye-opening and educational. I think a lot of people will learn a lot of things from this episode.
No, I hope so. And I'll keep you up to date in our publications. I'll give you our latest one, which I have. It's not in any magazines yet. It's a pre-archive print, but it maps out exactly what we did and exactly what we talked about.
Yeah.
From the lab. It's beautiful work. Yeah,
I'm gonna put this together. You'll see. It'll come out pretty good. I have faith in myself. I'm gonna put some extra splash on this one.
No, do it up.
Yeah,
no, I appreciate that. It's really funny because my girlfriend and I watched all your videos.
Yeah,
and we thought it was awesome because we like mob stuff.
Yeah.
I'm from Wisconsin, so we have a little mob history here. I'm like, well, this is going to be cool.
I'm doing a mob show right now after this, and I'm not 9 minutes late, but whatever. I'm doing a mob show right after this.
That is so awesome.
About Springfield. It's really, really telling stuff. I got a lot of information, man.
No, I enjoy that. We enjoy watching it. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
She goes, why are you going to be at Bill's show? He talks about the mob and you get bit by snakes. I'm like, I don't care. It's cool.
I'm trying to branch out and expand my
you branched out, right?
Yeah, my brain. I'm trying to you got to think outside the box with the snake in it, man.
Well, it's good for your show too. It's going to bring in different listeners with different interests.
Yeah. I'm going to hashtag reptiles, snakes, all that stuff. It'll be great.
Yeah, anything. It's all helpful and
definitely, man.
So press is good press.
I'll take myself out. Can you do me a favor and just say, I'm Tim Friede and I'm chatting with Staxx when I go off the screen?
Yep.
All right, cool. Thank you, man.
I am Tim Friede and I'm chatting with Staxx. Excellent conversation. Learned a lot. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh shit! I cut you off fast, man. Sorry.
No, that's
No,
okay.
it's kind of like a promo, a little promo. So like it's something I would put out before the interview, and you just say, "I'm Tim Friede, and I'm immune to snake venom, and I'm chatting with Staxx." Something like that.
Okay.
All right. All right. Cool.
My name is Tim Friede, and I'm doing an interview with Bill from Chattin with Staxx. We're going to talk about snake venom death, and how to fix that. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that, bro. All right, man. I'm gonna get ready for the show. I'm gonna do my little outro, and
Yep.
that's it. We're good, man. And I'll hit you up with the link when I'm done with editing it. All right.
Awesome, Bill.
Thank you, man. All right, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. It's been a pleasure having you on my show, and you're welcome back anytime. And you want to give anyone a shout out before we go?
Just Cenovax.com. That's our company website where all our facts are. And that's, I don't have a website or my Facebook, Tim Friede on Facebook or Twitter. Other than that, I don't do too much social media. It takes up too much of my time and I can't read that way. So I steer away from it. But
Hey, man, it's great stuff. And I think people are really going to enjoy this one. But I'm going to have you back on. It's going to be incredible. So if you guys like this interview, there's a lot more to come. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you could get my videos every time they drop. Till next time. Thanks, man.
peace.